The ultimatum. The massive holographic projection materialized in the center of the United Nations General Assembly, casting an eerie violet glow across the stunned faces of Earth's representatives. The alien figure stood nearly 8 feet tall, its segmented exoskeleton gleaming like polished obsidian under the lights of what appeared to be a vast command bridge. 4 arms were folded formally across its torso, while its elongated head tilted slightly downward to address the humans. I am High Commander Vexlar of the Corvellian Empire, rulers of 3,000 star systems across 7 galactic sectors, the alien announced, its voice translated into a metallic monotone that echoed throughout the chamber. Your planet has been detected within our expansion zone. You will submit to Imperial authority within 30 Earth rotations or face immediate pacification. Secretary General Amara Chen gripped the podium, her knuckles white, but her voice steady. Commander, we are a peaceful planet. Surely there's room for negotiation. There is no negotiation, Vexlar interrupted. The terms are simple. Your governments will dissolve. Your resources will be cataloged. Your population will be assessed for labor value. Those deemed useful will serve the Empire. The rest will be relocated to processing colonies. Silence fell across the chamber. The implications were unmistakable. And if we refuse? Chen asked, though everyone already knew the answer. The alien's 4 eyes narrowed slightly. Then we will demonstrate the consequence of defiance. Your military installations will be targeted first, followed by population centers until resistance ends. This is the way of the Empire. This is the natural order. 30 rotations. The hologram flickered once and vanished. Pandemonium erupted in the chamber. Delegates shouted over one another, some calling for immediate surrender to save lives, others demanding resistance at any cost. Chen slammed her gavel repeatedly, finally restoring the semblance of order. The Security Council will convene immediately, she announced. All other delegates, return to your governments. Coordinate your military and civil defense protocols. We need a unified response within 24 hours. As the chamber cleared, Chen caught the eye of U.S. Ambassador Eleanor Williams, giving her an almost imperceptible nod. Williams slipped away from the crowd, entering a secure communications room adjacent to the main chamber. She placed her palm on a biometric scanner hidden beneath a panel and spoke 6 words. Midnight Protocol. The stars have fallen. 12,000 miles away, in a facility buried beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, General Marcus Hayes received the coded message. His weathered face remained impassive as he turned to his executive officer. It's happened, he said simply, exactly as the Charon files predicted. Alert all Obsidian commanders. Authorization Omega Black. The young officer's eyes widened. Sir, is it really? It's time, Major. Everything we've built for the past 40 years is about to be put to the test. Within hours, the Unified Earth Response Council gathered in a bunker 2 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. The 20 individuals seated around the table represented the highest echelons of global military and scientific leadership, yet none wore uniforms or insignia. This council existed on no public record. President Karina Rodriguez of the North American Alliance took her place at the head of the table. The Corvellian Empire has made contact exactly as the Charon probe warned us they would 43 years ago. Their demands, their time frame, everything matches the intelligence we recovered. Defense Coordinator Wai Zong placed a tablet on the table, displaying a holographic model of the solar system. Red markers appeared beyond the orbit of Mars. 37 Corvellian warships have taken position in the outer solar system, John reported. Their energy signatures are consistent with the specifications in the Charon files. As predicted, they're far more advanced than anything in our conventional arsenal. What about civilian awareness? Asked Director Okonkwo of the African Federation. Global media is reporting first contact with an unknown alien civilization, replied Information Coordinator Puddle. The threat is being downplayed to prevent panic, but we can't contain this for long. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Then we proceed as planned. 43 years ago, when the Charon probe crashed in Antarctica with warning of the Corvellian expansion, Earth's leaders made a choice. Instead of announcing the coming threat, we used the time to prepare in secret. She turned to General Hayes. Status of Project Obsidian. Hayes activated his own display. All 7 fleet divisions are at readiness level 1. The Phantom Division in lunar orbit, Kraken Division in the deep Pacific, Goliath Division in the Arctic, Spectre Division in the Atlantic, Titan Division in the asteroid belt, Wraith Division on Mars, and Guardian Division in Earth orbit. Total strength, 418 vessels. Murmurs spread around the table. For decades, the world's largest nations have publicly maintained modest space programs, while funneling trillions into the secret construction of Earth's true defense force. The Corvellians expect primitive spacecraft and conventional weapons, Ace continued. They have no idea we've been preparing specifically for them using their own technology recovered from the Charon probe. Dr. Elena Volkov, head of the Advanced Weapons Division, spoke next. The phase shift drive systems are fully operational on all vessels. The gravity disruption weapons have been tested extensively against simulated Corvellian shield configurations. We believe they will be effective, but until we face their actual technology, we cannot be certain. Rodriguez surveyed the room. Recommendations. We should launch a preemptive strike, General Hayes suggested. Hit them before they realize what they're facing. Zhang shook his head. Too risky. If we don't eliminate their entire fleet, we risk immediate retaliation against civilian targets. I agree, said Rodriguez. We follow the original plan. For the next 25 days, Earth plays the role of a frightened, primitive world considering surrender. We send diplomatic missions, ask for clarifications, request extensions, anything to buy time while the Obsidian fleet moves into final position. She turned to Ambassador Williams. Eleanor, you'll lead the negotiation team. Keep the Corvellians talking. Make them believe we're divided and fearful. Williams nodded. They expect us to beg. I'll give them exactly what they're expecting. And if they demand an answer before the 30 days? Asked Okonkwo. Then we give them one, Rodriguez replied. Just not the one they're expecting. As the council continued its planning, similar scenes unfolded in hidden facilities around the world. In massive underwater caverns, engineers performed final checks on sleek black vessels that had never seen the light of day. Beneath the lunar surface, pilots ran combat simulations against Corvellian tactical patterns. In orbital platforms disguised as weather satellites, weapons systems silently came online. For over 4 decades, humanity had maintained the illusion of slow technological progress, while secretly leapfrogging centuries ahead. The advanced propulsion, weapons, and defensive systems reverse-engineered from the Charon probe had been developed in absolute secrecy, known only to a small fraction of the global leadership. 5 days later, Ambassador Williams led a delegation to the Corvellian flagship, the Dominant Will, which had moved into high Earth orbit. The massive vessel dwarfed the International Space Station, stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. High Commander Vexlar received them in a cavernous chamber designed to intimidate. The delegation was forced to stand while the Corvellian representatives sat elevated on a dais. We come seeking clarification on the terms of surrender, Williams began, her voice appropriately submissive. Our world has many nations, many cultures. We need time to prepare our people. Your internal divisions are irrelevant, Vexlar replied coldly. The Empire speaks with one voice. Earth will learn to do the same. Williams lowered her eyes. Of course, High Commander. But please understand, our technology is primitive compared to yours. We have no experience with galactic governance. We request a transition period of at least 5 Earth years to. Denied. Vexlar interrupted. The standard integration period is 60 days. Given your planet's backwardness, we will grant you 90. No more. That's very generous, Williams murmured, noting how the commander's 4 eyes narrowed slightly at her obsequious tone. Good. Let them think humans were spineless. We also request details on the resource quotas that will be expected of us, she continued. For the next 3 hours, Williams methodically extracted information while projecting helplessness and fear. The Corvellians revealed their plans with arrogant openness, the resource extraction schedules, the labor classification system, the processing of unnecessary humans. All the while, AI systems hidden in the delegation's seemingly primitive equipment recorded everything, analyzing the Corvellian language patterns, technology, and biological signatures. When they returned to Earth, Williams delivered her assessment to the Response Council. They're exactly what the Charon files described: methodical, arrogant, and utterly convinced of their superiority. They've conquered so many primitive worlds that they can't conceive of being threatened by us. Did they suspect anything? Rodriguez asked. Not at all. They see us as primitives barely worth their attention. Our primitive shuttlecraft thoroughly amused them. General Hayes nodded with grim satisfaction. Perfect. The Obsidian fleet will be in final position in 18 days. We continue as planned. As diplomatic delays continued, Earth's governments publicly debated the alien ultimatum. Some nations announced their intention to surrender. Others vowed resistance. The apparent disunity reinforced the Corvellians' contempt for the primitive humans. Meanwhile, beneath the seas, beyond the moon, and hidden in the asteroid belt, humanity's real response took shape. The black ships of Project Obsidian, incorporating technology decades beyond anything known to the public, moved silently into their attack positions. The countdown to humanity's moment of truth had begun. Humanity's Artis Pionesse. On the 29th day of the ultimatum, High Commander Vexlar summoned Ambassador Williams to the dominant will. The massive Corvellian warship now hovered directly over New York City, its shadow covering Manhattan like an artificial eclipse. Your time expires tomorrow, Vexlar stated flatly, his 4 arms arranged in what the humans had learned was a posture of absolute authority. Yet your leaders continue their pointless debates. The Empire's patience ends. You will deliver your formal surrender now, or we demonstrate our power. Williams maintained her carefully crafted persona of fearful deference. High Commander, please. Our world leaders have nearly reached consensus. We request just 12 more hours to. No more delays. Vexlar's voice boomed through the chamber. The Empire has been generous. Too generous. He gestured to a view screen where a targeting display showed military bases around the world. In 1 hour, these installations will be destroyed as a demonstration. After that, you will surrender or watch your cities fall one by one. Williams lowered her head. I understand, High Commander. May I contact my leaders one final time? Vexlar made a dismissive gesture. Go. 1 hour. No more. Once aboard her shuttle, Williams activated the secure quantum channel. Midnight protocol authorized, she said simply. Execute in 55 minutes. President Rodriguez received the message in the command bunker. Around her, the Unified Response Council watched in tense silence. It's time, she announced. General Hayes, you have operational command. Deploy the Obsidian fleet. Hayes nodded and activated his tactical display. All fleet divisions, this is Control Actual. Execute Operation Midnight Sun. I repeat, execute Operation Midnight Sun. Throughout the solar system, hidden compartments in asteroids slid open. Massive hangar doors beneath the Arctic ice parted. On the far side of the moon, concealed bases activated launch systems, and in the deepest trenches of Earth's oceans, the seafloor itself seemed to split as enormous black vessels rose from hiding places where they had waited for decades. The Corvellian sensors registered the first anomalies within seconds. High Commander. The sensor officer's voice carried a note of confusion that bordered on panic. We're detecting multiple energy signatures, hundreds of them, appearing throughout the solar system. Impossible, Vexlar snapped. These primitives have no significant space presence. The readings are clear, High Commander, large vessels are emerging from Earth's oceans, from the lunar surface, from the asteroid belt. They're everywhere. On the dominant Will's main view screen, the impossible became undeniable. Rising from Earth's Atlantic Ocean, a massive black vessel broke the surface, sleek, angular, and almost twice the length of the Corvellian flagship. Similar ships emerged from the Pacific and Arctic. From the dark side of the moon, a swarm of smaller craft appeared, moving with impossible speed and precision. "Open a channel to their vessels," Vexler ordered, his confidence wavering for the first time. The view screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the human flagship. A stern-faced woman in a black uniform addressed him. "This is Admiral Helena Reyes of the Earth Defense Vessel Defiance. Your ultimatum is rejected. Remove your vessels from Earth space immediately or face destruction." Vexlar's four eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of Corvellian shock. "What trickery is this? Your world has no such technology. You assumed we were primitive because that's what we wanted you to see," Reyes replied coldly. 43 years ago, we recovered one of your scout ships. We've been preparing for this day ever since." "Impossible," Vexlar roared. "Target the human vessel and fire." The dominant Will's main weapon batteries charged and fired, sending brilliant streaks of energy toward the Defiance. But instead of impacting the human vessel, the energy beams seemed to curve around it, dissipating harmlessly into space. "Gravity distortion shields," reported Admiral Reyes with cold satisfaction. "Reverse engineered from your own technology. Your sensors can't track our vessels, your weapons can't target us effectively, and your shields can't stop our phase shift torpedoes. This is your final warning. Withdraw or be destroyed." Aboard the Defiance, Tactical Officer Commander Jackson monitored the Corvellian fleet's response. "They're moving into attack formation, Admiral. All their vessels are powering weapons." Reyes nodded grimly. "They've conquered too many worlds to back down from the first sign of resistance. All divisions, execute attack pattern Obsidian Prime. Target their propulsion and weapons systems only." Throughout the solar system, the black ships of humanity's secret fleet accelerated toward their targets. Unlike conventional spacecraft, they moved without visible engine emissions, manipulating gravitational fields to achieve impossible maneuvers. The larger vessels deployed swarms of smaller craft, fighters and interceptors that danced around the Corvellian ships with bewildering speed. The first phase shift torpedoes struck the Corvellian support vessels. Unlike conventional weapons, these projectiles briefly phased out of normal spacetime, passing directly through the alien shields before rematerializing inside the ships. The resulting implosions tore massive holes in the Corvellian fleet. On the dominant Will, chaos erupted as alarms blared from every station. 23 ships heavily damaged or destroyed. "High Commander," the tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking in distress. "Their weapons, they're bypassing our shields completely." "Impossible," Vexler murmured, but the evidence was undeniable. Somehow, these supposed primitives had developed or stolen technology that made a mockery of Corvellian military supremacy. "All ships target their population centers," he ordered desperately. "If we can't defeat their fleet, we'll force their surrender by threatening their civilians." 5 Corvellian destroyers broke formation and accelerated toward Earth, charging their planet-killer weapons. Admiral Reyes saw the maneuver instantly. "Guardian Division, intercept those destroyers. Deploy the gravity wells." From Earth orbit, 7 disc-shaped vessels moved to intercept. These were the Guardians, specialized defensive platforms designed for one purpose: planetary protection. As the Corvellian destroyers fired their main weapons, the Guardians activated their primary systems. The destructive energy beams from the alien ships suddenly curved away from Earth, captured by artificially generated gravitational fields, and redirected harmlessly into space. The Guardians then fired their own weapons, not to destroy, but to immobilize. Specialized projectors created localized gravity distortions around each Corvellian ship, trapping them in place like insects in amber. "Finish them," Rise ordered. The Defiance and two support vessels moved into position above the trapped Corvellian destroyers. Their weapons ports opened, revealing not cannons but arrays of small, drone-like devices that swarmed toward the alien ships. These were graviton disruptors, designed to selectively destabilize mechanical and electronic systems without causing catastrophic destruction. Within minutes, the 5 destroyers hung dead in space, their crews alive but their ships completely disabled. Throughout the solar system, the pattern repeated. The Phantom Division from the Moon conducted precision strikes against Corvellian command ships. The Titan Division from the asteroid belt ambushed reinforcement vessels. The Wraith Division from Mars cut off potential escape routes. On the dominant Will, Vexillar watched in horror as his fleet, which had conquered hundreds of worlds, was systematically dismantled by the supposedly primitive humans. "High Commander, we've lost 60% of our combat capacity," reported his second-in-command. "Their technology. It's unlike anything in our records." Vexillar's exoskeleton seemed to shrink as the magnitude of his failure became clear. The Empire had never encountered a species that had hidden its true capabilities so effectively. They had walked into a trap 4 decades in the making. "Send the emergency signal to Imperial Command," he ordered. "Warn them." The ship shuddered violently as multiple impacts struck the hull. The lights flickered and died, replaced by dim emergency illumination. "Phase shift boarding craft detected in hangar section 3. Someone shouted. Vexillar knew then that the battle was lost. These humans had not only matched Corvellian technology, they had improved upon it. The bridge doors hissed open, revealing a squad of humans in sleek black armor. Unlike the fearful diplomats he had dismissed, these warriors moved with deadly precision. At their head stood Ambassador Williams, now clad in military gear, her previously submissive posture replaced by cold authority. "High Commander Vexillar," she announced, "your ship is disabled, your fleet is defeated, and you are now a prisoner of war." Vexillar's mandibles clicked in disbelief. You were never afraid." "No," Williams agreed. "We just needed you to believe we were." 3 days later, the leaders of Earth's nations gathered at the United Nations to address the world. For the first time, the public would learn the truth about Project Obsidian and the Charon Files. President Rodriguez stood at the podium, flanked by the other members of the Response Council. "People of Earth," she began, 43 years ago, an alien scout ship crashed in Antarctica. From its database, we learned that a vast empire called the Corvellians was expanding through our sector of the galaxy, conquering world after world. We learned that they would eventually reach Earth, and when they did, they would demand our surrender before enslaving or destroying us. Murmurs spread through the assembly and among the billions watching worldwide. The leaders of that time faced an impossible choice: reveal this knowledge and risk global panic, or use the time to prepare in secret. They chose the latter. Project Obsidian was born, a unified global effort hidden from public view, dedicated to developing the technology and forces needed to defend Earth when the Corvellians finally arrived. Screens around the chamber displayed images of the black ships rising from the oceans, emerging from the moon, and descending from the asteroid belt. For 4 decades, the world's governments maintained the illusion of limited space capability, while secretly building the most advanced fleet in human history. Using technology reverse-engineered from the Charon probe, we developed ships and weapons specifically designed to counter Corvellian technology. She paused, letting the magnitude of the revelation sink in. 3 days ago, when the Corvellian Empire demanded our surrender, humanity gave its answer. Their fleet has been neutralized. Their commander is in custody. And for the first time in its history of expansion, the Corvellian Empire has been defeated. Cheers erupted in the chamber and in city centers around the world. "This victory belongs to all of humanity," Rodriguez continued once the applause subsided. "To the engineers who built our ships, to the scientists who developed our weapons, to the pilots who flew our vessels, and to the diplomats who kept the Corvellians distracted until we were ready." She gestured to a view screen showing the captured dominant will being escorted by Obsidian fleet vessels. We have sent a message to the Corvellian Empire. Earth is not defenseless. Humanity will not surrender. And should any other power threaten our world, they will meet the same fate. As the speech concluded, people around the world looked up to see the vessels of the Guardian Division taking up visible positions in Earth orbit, no longer hidden, but standing as a proud declaration of humanity's newfound place in the galaxy. Aboard the Defiance, Admiral Rice and Ambassador Williams watched the celebrations from orbit. "What happens now?" Williams asked. "The Corvellians will send more ships." Rice nodded. "Yes, but not right away. Their entire strategy relies on swift conquest of primitive worlds. We've shown them we're anything but primitive. They'll need time to reassess, to develop new technologies and tactics. And we'll be ready when they do," Williams said, gazing at the blue marble of Earth below. "We will," Rice agreed. "But more importantly, we've changed the equation. The next time the Corvellians encounter a primitive world, they'll have to wonder if they're walking into another trap." As the black ships of humanity's fleet patrolled the solar system, the stars no longer seemed distant and unreachable. They were now a frontier, one that humanity had proven it was ready to defend. The universe had learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the ingenuity, determination, and sheer stubbornness of the human race.